About 600 years ago, medical practitioners still used texts based on the book of the Greek physicist Dioscorides as reference for herbal medicine. No medicinal garden would be found without these kinds of medicinal plants used to cure disorders and diseases. I am Justin Charles von Posel, and we will be talking about medicine in the late Middle Ages in the Western Europe. Pagan and folk practices greatly influenced Christian medicinal practitioners, and this reflected humoralism, which was the belief that health came from the balance between bodily liquids called humors, which Hippocrates may have made, and herbalism. Practice on medicine in the early Middle Ages were focused on curing what can be seen of diseases, even if it was believed that the causes were supernatural. Herbal medicine were always used as a solution for ailments. Physic gardens were kept with medical herbs, and many early medieval manuscripts were found to have descriptions on these herbs and their uses. An example of these writings were those by Pseudo-Apuleius, who have written texts about medical herbs with detailed illustrations. Monasteries became the center for medieval medical practices. Progress was made in surgery, medical chemistry, dissections, and practical medicine. There were apprenticeships to professional practice in the universities, and passing of oral traditions and documenting texts, such as those preserved by monasteries, as monks copied and revised medical texts. The Middle Ages had one of the first well-known female physicians, Hildegard of Bingen. Born 1098 and entered the double monastery of Disibodenberg, Hildegard of Bingen was an example of medieval medical practitioner, educated in classical Greek medicine, also utilizing folk medicine remedies. Her understanding of the plant-based medicines informed her commentary on the four humors of the body and the remedies she described in her medical text. The book she wrote, Cause et Cure, were influenced by her familiarity with folk treatments of disease. In the rural society of Hildegard's time, much of the medical treatments were provided by women, along with their other domestic duties. So, kitchens were stocked with herbs and other substances required in folk remedies for many ailments. Cause et Cure illustrated a view of symbiosis of the body and nature, that the understanding of nature could inform medical treatments of the body. However, Hildegard maintained the belief that the root of diseases was a compromised relationship between a person and God. Many parallels between pagan and Christian ideas about disease existed during the early Middle Ages. Christian views of disease differed from those held by pagans because of a fundamental difference in belief. Christians' belief in a personal relationship with God greatly influenced their views on medicine. Medical chemistry was later on practiced, which adapted chemical processes in preparing medicine. John of Ropesisa had works such as making the Philosopher's Stone or the fifth essence, and was recognized for the beginnings in medical chemistry. For medical chem, distillation techniques were often used, and they believed that a substance's purest form would be the fifth essence, and this is where medicine would come from. Remedies became more potent as impure elements were removed and alcohol was used more often. This time differentiated alchemy and chemistry. Roger Fregari of Parma composed his treatise on surgery around 1180. Between 1350 and 1365, Theodoret Borgogoni produced a systematic 4-volume treatise on surgery, the Chirurgia, which promoted important innovations and early forms of antiseptic practice in treating injuries and surgical anesthesia using a mix of opiates and herbs. Italians had the first record of an autopsy from 1286 that was a practice of anatomical dissection. Dissection became more prominent at around the year 1299. The University of Bologna were the first to introduce dissection in an educational setting. Despite being born to a family with limited resources in France, Guy de Chauliac was recognized for his intellect and was sponsored in his academics by lords of Mercure. He received his Magister in Medicine at University of Montpellier after 6 years under the tutelage of Raymond de Molleri. Guy wrote the Chirurgia, which was the first book on surgery with substantial medical background. He says that surgery should be founded on their understanding of anatomy because at the time, many surgeons barely knew anything about anatomy, comparable to the reputation of butchers. Again, I've been Justin von Posel. Hope you learned something today, and I'll see you all again in the next video.